Frank Reich spoke to the media today about the challenges of going down to Tennessee and beating the Titans. This is a huge game for the Colts. Colts really have to win this to be taken seriously in the AFC South, despite winning 3 of their last 4. We talked to Frank Reich.
As far as status of anybody, just kind of like last week, I'm going to refrain from any status. I like to kind of get through this first day, see where everybody's at. We'll have the injury report out later, so really don't want to get into the status of players.
Frank, when you look at Tennessee's got 4 straight on you guys, what do they do so well? What do they do? It almost feels like they do what you guys are trying to do. They went up front a lot. Do you see that on tape and how you guys combat?
Yeah, exactly. They're physical up front on both sides of the ball. Probably the thing that Tennessee does as well as anybody is they don't beat themselves. You know, they're really good at situational football. They don't beat themselves. Turnover issue is normally pretty good, and so and they are a very disciplined team. So a very good football team. You know, defending a number 1 seed last year in the AFC, obviously division champs. So all roads go through Nashville.
Frank, do you expect to keep the same starting 5, or I guess the 5 that closed the game, I should say, from Sunday? And how key is that to now find a 5 and build with a 5?
Yeah, I mean, finding the chemistry and the vibe is good, and obviously I thought all 6 of those guys played well. Dennis played well. We'll see how it goes here in the beginning of the week, but we were anticipating kind of staying like we were. But really glad to have Dennis and what he's doing, and also Bernard. We think he's going to continue to develop.
Frank, when you say anticipate staying as you were as a starter, as they finished, right?
As we were, probably as we were. We'll evaluate that as we go.
Okay.
And, we'll evaluate that as we go. Happy to have both. Dennis did very well.
Right, last year, I think it's fair to say, excuse me, that you kind of evolved, your play selection kind of evolved into more of a run-heavier team. This year, your passing number, your passing percentage is up, I think, pretty substantially. Can you evolve the other way too? And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but do you look at that much, and what does it tell you, and what do you call that?
Yeah, 100%. We look at, we always look at that, always evaluating, adapting, adjusting, as is needed. And as we've always said, it's really game to game. We are still seeking to be a balanced football team. We want to be a balanced football team. We think that's, what does that mean? It doesn't mean 50-50, right? I mean, what does it mean? Does it mean the perfect balance every week? No, it doesn't mean perfect. It means over the course of a season, you typically don't want to be at the extreme end of one of those. We don't want to be in the top 5 passing attempt teams. We don't want to be in the top 5 attempt, so we want to be good in both. We believe we have the personnel to be good in both. So we're still trying to find our way a little bit in the run game, and we've got to try to do, in the meantime, we have to do what we can to try to win games.
Over the last few weeks, Isaiah's played more than Brandon, cornerback. Have you had any thoughts of just playing Isaiah outright over him? I know Gus mentioned that he wants, or you all like to have that rotation at depth.
Yeah, I believe in both of those guys a lot. I really do. I know there's been chatter about Brandon's stroke. Let me just tell you something. This guy's a competitor. He's a winner. He's a winning corner in this league. I'm really glad he's on our team. Same thing with Isaiah. So they both played a fair amount last week. We'll evaluate that as we go. You always got to do what's best for the team, but I can just tell you this: myself, Chris Ballard, the defensive staff, we have a lot of confidence that both of those guys will play winning football for us.
Frank, when you guys know, yesterday Jim Irsay said something that I think a lot of owners believe but didn't have the courage to say. What did that tell you about ultimately the man you work for?
Yeah, really proud to work for Mr. Irsay, for the Colts. He's a leader, man. The guy's a leader, and just proud to work for him. Proud for what he stands for, his family. It's been his whole life, right? He's been a leader. He's going to be the leader in social justice issues. He's about doing the right thing. And that's why our mission is, about to entertain, inspire, and unite by winning the right way. And the man wants to win the right way. I'm proud to work for him.
Whenever Shaq does get back, considering all the time he's missed over the past year, will he need more
within a week, you think, to get back into game shape, or what do you think about that?
We a lot of discussion on that over the last, 48 hours. How much time is he gonna need? Can he get ready in a week? Is it gonna take 2 weeks? That's gonna happen. I mean, I'm not really trying to hide it. We're gonna need to see that. And again, like we said, that's a collective. We are gonna need to see that. Shaq and coaches and, all of us making that, trainers, doctors, but excited. I really do think, even though he's been out for a week, I think that physically, from what from talking to the trainers, that even though he had the concussion and the nose and the broken nose and that bad fracture, in other ways he was still doing things to make everything else better. And I think he's continuing to incrementally get better and better with his injury. So we'll see how it plays out in the coming week and weeks.
When you guys drafted Alec, Chris said we love his vertical ability. And he said, well, wait a minute, he can do the whole route tree. In camp and early in the season, when did you guys start to scheme of ways to involve him way more than just on the sideline, and how has that developed?
I really do feel like from the time he got here, we sat down early and said, hey, is this going to be one of these guys that we're going to slowly develop over the year? And we made a conscious decision as a coaching staff, as an offensive coaching staff. Nope, this is not going to be a slow development process.
Why?
We felt it, with what you saw on tape from college, when you talk to him, super competitive, tough, smart, and it was evident that he had all the skill set. He had the speed, he was a good route runner. So we decided very early in the process, this was not going to be a slow development process. We're going to accelerate this and just throw him in.
Where is Reggie's impact? Where's Reggie's impact been?
That might be one of the keys to the whole thing, because maybe the hardest adjustment isn't physically, it's just the mentality that you need. And Reggie has that mentality, and I think that just oozes out of Reggie into all the guys, but I think it's particularly helped out.
Considering the way he's played, could you see Pierce and Pitt right now are playing close to 100%? Could you see Alec getting to that point at some point where he's playing almost every snap?
It'll be interesting. I think 80 plays was a lot of plays last week for Pitt and Parrish. So, I don't want to. It's a long season. I don't want to kill. We don't want to kill those guys. So, we've even talked about trying to find ways to spell for, Pittman and Parrish just a little bit here and there, because we have confidence in our other guys as well. And obviously, Pitt's our guy, and Parrish is playing great. But over the course of a year, it's good to switch things up. So we'll look to maybe get some more guys involved as well.
Frank, when you guys made the decision to move Sam up to 2, did you feel the need to talk to Nick about what went in there?
I talked to all 3 of the quarterbacks, and it's hard. I mean, because there wasn't like I said the other day. I'm glad you asked me this, Chad, because it wasn't like, hey Nick, hey Sam, beat you out. It was more a schematic thing. Don't get me wrong, we love Sam, and he's earned the right to be in this role. But Nick Foles has just looked lights out in practice. He physically, his arms, strength, and this offense he's doing a good job in this offense. It's built for him in a lot of ways. So super excited. It was a hard conversation to have, but Nick is such a pro. He's such a pro, and I think he was a little bit shocked at first, but I think he understood why we were doing what we were doing, that it was what was best for the team, but in no way did it diminish how we feel about him and what he brings to our team.
Right, but
Last week,
Alec showing that potential in those inside routes and crossers and the toughness you talked about. This obviously his primary skill maybe is on the outside. How much more dangerous can that make him on those vertical routes, because he does have that ability, a proven ability?
Yeah, I think without question, we've always said, if you can be a receiver who makes an impact outside the numbers, that's a really big deal. That's a special trait. You need guys who can make an impact outside the numbers. So if you're going to be one of those guys, like you're referring to, Stephen, if you're going to be a guy that can make an impact out there, where sometimes a tall, skinny, fast guy can do that, but they don't necessarily do much damage over the middle, you can kind of narrow the field on that guy. But what Alec is showing is that he can do all of it. And so, and you know we like to do that in our offense. We like to move guys around very intentionally to switch it up for all those reasons.
Just
All right, Nate,
going,
last one.
Just going back to last week for a second, you practiced Jonathan Taylor twice and then decided to hold him out. Did he get close, and what's sort of the, I guess, the dynamic with a guy like that who he always wants to be out there practicing and figuring out when to let him go in games?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, you're right, Nate. I mean, I felt like, you know, in my mind, I was probably wishful thinking by me, but in my mind, I thought he was going to be ready. I did, and I know how tough he is, and I know he was doing everything he could get out there. But you know, after talking to the doctors and trainers, you know, later in the week, it was like, thought he was going to be ready. You know, it's just not quite there. You know, we're all trying to push it. I think he was trying to push it, and we just didn't quite get there.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Frank Reich. I thought it was really interesting hearing him talk about Jim Irsay and what Jim Irsay had to say about Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Washington Commanders, and how proud he is of Jim Irsay for coming out and saying what he did yesterday at the owners' meeting.